we are aware of the surplus, right? So then we move to the next section, that was the craft, right? So when we have started discussing about the craft, so the first thing which we need to discuss, that is about the specialization, because without specialization there is no point of discussing about the urban craft practices. So I think I just told you something about the specialization, right? That is what we have covered. So once suppose we people have started discussing about the craft practices, so what were the different crafts that could be discussed here? You just tell me. I just told you that ultimately we need to focus on the conceptual part, that must be substantiated with certain facts, and that approach even should be followed in answer writing, right? So okay, fine, we have discussed about the specialization, which is making it more significant, right? Now if we need to discuss about those factual aspects of the Harappan crafts, so what are the areas that must be discussed here? You just tell me. You have studied little bit NCERT, in that case you must be knowing about that. As I told you that in the next class we are going to discuss that. So you just tell me.
The product they made.
Sorry?
The product they made.
What kind of products? That is what I was asking. Okay, fine, very good. Okay. Pottery, right? So if we discuss about the pottery, so what kind of things or what stuff must be discussed for the pottery?
So you are asking about the types of pottery or the commercial kinds of?
You just tell me if you have studied NCERT, right? At least you haven't studied NCERT. When we are trying to write an answer in the mains examination, so definitely we are not going to discuss about each and every minute details regarding their pottery. हाथ से बनाते थे, किससे बनाते थे, ठीक है, और किस तरीके के है, कहाँ मिलते हैं, what are the areas where we do find this pottery. There's no point of discussing that, right? We need to discuss about the technology which was being used by them, right? The first thing. And the second thing, whenever we are discussing anything which is related to the craft, the second thing which is very important and that must be discussed here, that is the standardization of craft, right? So somehow, I just told you one thing that could be, briefly discussed here, that whenever you are talking about anything which is related to Indus Valley civilization, so there were so many regional disparities or the regional differences that could be noticed. But while talking about Indus Valley civilization or the Harappan civilization, the most important thing, right, that we have to consider, that is the standardization rather than the differences, right? Because ultimately these standardizations or these uniformity among the crafts or among any other thing, right, which is making it specific, it is not the regionalization or the regional differences which is making it more specific. And that is why we need to pick only those stuff or those craft practices which are basically following the pattern of specialization, the first thing, and the second thing, standardization. Getting my point or not? Okay. So basically we need to discuss about that. So suppose we have picked up that idea of pottery. So definitely in the pottery we'll find certain similarities, and normally you can't say that this is the only form of pottery which was being used by them, but the red and black pottery was majorly used by them, and somehow this is the type of pottery which which mark the standardization, right? And that is why we need to discuss about that. So first, what is the most standardized form of pottery, right? What was the technique of making the pottery, right? And we can discuss about some of the centers where they used to they were making the pottery. Got my point? So this is one craft. What next? What next? Sorry? Bands. Bands such as? Ornaments, jewelries, okay, fine. So the jewelries also could be discussed. Look, as far as this jewelry is concerned, so again that uniformity could be seen in IVC, right? But there were few centers which were involved in jewelry making, right? So yes, we need to discuss about the types of jewelry, like the very few types of jewelry, right? What are the stuff used by them in making jewelry, right? And what are the popular centers for making the jewelry? That's it. Next. Part of jewelry only. Yes, you just told us copper mirror. Instead of that, I would like to discuss about that in form of metallurgy, right? That yes, what kind of metallurgical ways or the metallurgies were popular among the Harappans, and that we need to discuss, right? So they were using copper, they were using tin, right, and If they are clubbing the copper with tin, then the bronze, right? And apart from that, they were using gold, silver, and in fact, we do have very minimal reference of using iron or the use of iron, right? So what metallurgy they had, what technology they they had for making this pottery, the copper stuff, right? So that also we need to discuss. So that is one sort of craft. What else? What else we can discuss in the craft practices? हाँ? दंगल देखिए, दंगल देखिए, दंगल सभी लोगों ने देखी है. You all have seen Dangal. Have you seen Dangal? Okay, it's a good movie. Right. Do you remember the last scene of the film where she is defeating the Australian champion, right? She is world champion, twice world champion. She was twice. She had this title for 2 consecutive years, and finally she was defeated by. So there was a scene that has been shown, and that scene is very good for for basically student and teachers, right? And why? That is why I'm just referring you all this. So at the last scene, she is saying, "Ki look, I won't be there all the places, at all the places, right? Sometimes even you have to learn how to survive." Do you remember that scene or not?
Yes, sir.
He
His
said,
father was absent from the
huh?
match. His father was absent from the match.
Father was absent from the last match, right? And there was a scene that she was sinking in the water, and then somehow she remembers that, and finally right. So it's not necessary that I'm always there. I'll be telling you every aspect. Okay. Sometimes you also need to know that if this question is coming, look, at the end I can promise you one thing. At the end I can promise you one thing. Everything you'll be knowing after the class, right? But how to manage the stuff or the content for your answer, that you have to learn, right? Suppose, and this much information you do have, right? So it is not necessary that always I'll be telling you each and every. This is not the spoon feeding. Try to get my point. And that is why I'm just asking this question in a way. You just tell me what were the crafts which were being popular among the Harappan. That is why I'm, otherwise it's quite easy to dictate you, and definitely I'll dictate you briefly about that, right? But you just apply your brain. You just tell me.
Brick making is also a part of
Bead making, brick making. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So I think you people are still missing numbers of things, right? Sorry. Clothes. Okay. Yes. Why not clothes? Cotton clothes. You know that the Indus Valley civilization was known for cotton clothes, right? So who will tell us about the cotton clothes? So that is why I'm telling you, the things are always around you. You have to pick the ideas from there. So yes, we need to discuss about the cloth making pattern. Basically, we don't have much information for the clothes, but definitely they were well versed in making the cotton clothes, and that was one of the stuff which was exported to Mesopotamia also, right? So okay, fine. Clothes. What else? Seals, right? Yes, they were well versed in making seals also, and the seals had certain functions, right? What kind of exact functions were there? Tough to be said, right? But even though the seals were one of the unique, craft practice among the Harappans, so that also we need to discuss. Sorry? No, it was not punch mark, sir. Punch mark seal people have started using much late, 6th century BCE, after the Vedic period, which is known as the silver coins. And these were not the seals, these were coins. Try to make the difference between these two. Seals were different, coins were different. And in fact, seals were not being used as coins, right? So that's not a proper idea. Sorry? That's a different thing. Here we are talking about crafts, right? So I think still you people are missing. There was numbers of things which you people are missing, right? I think we have received numbers of terracotta figurines that you all know. अभी ऐसा तो नहीं आप नहीं जानते इसके बारे में. You do know about the terracotta figurines, right? That was definitely one sort of craft, right? And in fact, when you talk about the figurines, right? So these were made of either bronze. That could be discussed separately in metallurgy also, but somehow that's a part of this also, So they were making terracotta figurines as well as bronze figurines, right? So that was also one of the advanced form of art which was practiced by them, right? And in fact, definitely the IVC people were much advanced in terracotta figurines, and that is why the another thing which you always you should always remember, that you must know the hierarchy of the things, right? Try to get my point. I just told you that you must know the hierarchy of the thing. So when you are talking about the terracotta figurines, that must be placed on the second or third position, because this is supposed to be one of the most important form of art. And somehow again I would say the same word, standardization, right? Because while talking about the Indus Valley craft practices or the Harappan craft practices, somehow the terracotta figurines were marking one of the most specific feature of Indus Valley civilization or the Harappan civilization. So yes, terracotta figurine. So there we can discuss about their method of making it, right, and the stuff which was being used by them. Okay, what else? Sorry, the same terracotta figurines. और क्या बता सकते हैं? और एक चीज जो आप सबसे खास है, but you guys are missing it. It was an urban civilization, and this civilization is known for planned cities, right? So this is the first example that we do have when people have started making the brick houses, right? And if their cities were so much planned, right, they're using the burnt bricks, right, and the standardization in the bricks, right, that is also a unique thing, right? The standardizations or the uniformity in the planning of the cities, right? So that must be also one of the craft that definitely or surely must be practiced by a certain section, because if so much specialization is seen in it, right? So of course it was about standardization and the specialization as well, right? So of course you need to discuss about this, right? So these are the examples that you need to put here, right? Okay, one by one briefly. Well, that's actually could be discussed here, right? But I think it's more suitable to the trade and commerce, right? Because weight and measurement की सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत हमें कहाँ पड़ती है? Trade and commerce में, right? So there, yes, while discussing the trade and commerce, definitely you can discuss about. Change the paragraph and write. Earlier writings tended T-E-N-D-E-D tended to contrast the plainness, P-L-A-I-N-N-E-S-S, plainness of Harappan artifacts with the opulence of their Egyptian and Mesopotamian counterparts. Full stop. Nowadays, the technological sophistication and beauty of some of the Harappan artifacts are recognized There is a great variety of great variety of standardized mass production and specialization in crafts at Harappan sites. The artifacts are far greater in quality and technical fineness as compared to its cultural its cultural we just cut as compared to, after as compared to we cut. Now what did you write? Can you please just
Technical fineness to its
cultural early cultural phases. Got my point? What did I tell you? That initially what happened, there was a sort of shift that could be noticed, in the study of the Harappan craft practices. So initially what happened, they have just assumed that normally, the Harappan products, right? These were of less these were of less quality as compared to the contemporary civilizations, right? Mesopotamia and some others, right? But Egypt, right? But later on they realized actually it is sort of minimizing the importance of this, and then there was a new shift coming, and then they have started focusing on the specialization and standardizations and some other things, right? So that is why we can say that there is a shift in the approach that could be noticed. Change the paragraph. Right, ceramics, ceramics, C-E-R-A-M-I-C-S, ceramics, included all items involving the heating of clay, such as bricks, terracotta, and faience. F-A-I-E-N-C-E, faience. The Harappan pottery reflects efficient mass production mass productions, and the centers for this craft was Harappa, Nausaro, Mohenjo-daro, Chanhudro. Now, let me briefly tell you about this Harappan pottery, right? Instead of mugging up the things, you just try to conceptualize the things, right? And in fact, you can note down few points also. If we'll talk about the Harappan, pottery. So there are specific things that we need to remember. That yes, that's a gradual transformation, right? Mind my words, that's a gradual transformation. And if it is gradual, in that case, what is happening? Initially handmade and then wheel made, right? So mostly during the period of mature Harappan phase, you'll find the wheel made pottery, the first thing, right? The second thing, mostly the first thing that we can discuss, that it was mostly wheel based, right? Now second thing, in fact, you just keep on noting the point instead of dictating all these things. There's no point of doing this, right? So you just make a box there, right? Because if in any particular question you need to discuss only the pottery, you'll be having certain points to discuss. Got my point, right? So okay, so it was wheel made pottery. Now pottery, 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 right? Now what is the second thing that we can discuss? Normally what they did, actually they used to make the pottery on the basis of wheel, and then they used to put a sort of layer over the over it, right? So mostly what happened, they used to make a sort of liquid, right? And that used to include, of course, clay, and then they were mixing some other stuff, such as if they had to get the red color, over the pottery, they were mixing the red oxide with it, and just by that they could make the red color, right? And they were putting a layer over the the pot, and it was somehow getting a shiny surface, right? And with the red color. So that was the technology which was used by them. So after making the pottery, they used to put a layer of the liquid which was prepared with the help of clay and other things, such as for red, it was red oxide. For for the black color, right, they used normally another oxide, sort of thing which was used, and sometimes they were using manganese also for giving it the black color, right? So the second thing which you need to remember, that this color, red and black, right? So normally what is this red and black, right? So the third thing which is important, that normally they used to make the pottery of red color, and with the help of black they used to put some sketches and some painting. No, it was colored by red. Try to get my point. It was colored by red, and then after making that, they were putting some kind of color, and for coloring it they use this black, and that is why we call it red and black. But the background color is red, and at the top of the red color, they used to put they used to make certain figures and certain other things with the help of this black color, right? Now the next thing, what was the shape and size of the pottery, right? So normally we'll find this S shape. Did you get the meaning of S shape? ये बात समझ में आई? क्या होता है ये S shape? What is this S shape? This is reverse S. समझ गया? अभी बात समझ में आई आपको? Normally their pottery used to be of this shape, right? So this S, right? And somehow that was, so somehow they'll find a narrow strip, right? And then it is going, it was going out, and the same, and finally the same kind of pattern could be seen here. So most of their pottery was following this S-shaped pattern, right? And this is the pattern which was followed by them. And now some other thing which is making it specific, they were getting, putting a sort of base, and it was part of the pottery only. It was not being added later on, right? It was part of the pottery. Most of the pottery of Indus Valley civilization had a base. Got my point? ठीक है. जैसे हम जब कई बार घड़ा खरीदते हैं तो घड़ा टिकती नहीं है, ठीक है, तो हम घड़े के साथ एक स्टैंड भी खरीदते हैं ना, जिसके ऊपर हम घड़े को रखते हैं, ठीक है. So that stand was somehow added to most of the potteries of Indus Valley civilization or the Harappan civilization, right? But as I am telling you that this is the most common form of pottery, could be seen among the Harappans, but at the same time we'll find certain other potteries also. It was the most common. Remember this, This is the most common form, right? But at the same time, you will find certain utensils like this. Can you get me what might be the use of this? Yes, right. For cooking, their vessels are basically the of open mouth, right? So these were not like having the narrow strip, because that must be used for cooking. And why we are assuming that these were used for cooking, because you'll find that this part has been either yes. Right. So that is the another form of pottery, right? The third form of pottery, you'll find the big vessels like this. What might be the use of this? Very nice. Storing of the the food grains or some other things, right? Apart from this, there's a unique form of pottery that we have received from IVC, and somehow I must tell you, we haven't still concluded it. What kind of use must be of there, right? We have found a beaker-like construction, right? And there were so many holes in this, right? So that's a beaker-like construction, and numbers of holes are there. So we don't know what kind of use this particular pottery must be having. One possibility is that there might be some religious use. I hope you remember that still, if you have visited some good malls and restaurants, in the washroom area you'll find something which has been kept, such kind of pottery has been kept, and some perfumes and some other things are put inside, and somehow it is exactly. So maybe, and I hope you might have seen in some of the Muslim shrines, right? They are using it for they are just burning some dhoop and other things, right? And the flames are kya bolte hain usko, dhua, this fragrance and some other things are coming out from that here, right? So these kind of there might be, I mean, we are just comparing it with that, right? So there might be some religious use of this, right? So this is one of the assumptions. So mostly this kind of utensils would be seen among the Indians, right? Sorry, among the Harappans, and that's the another important feature of this here, right? Next. हाँ बिल्कुल बना सकते. If you are writing something on pottery, right? So instead of giving numbers of description, if the pottery was like this, instead of making, you just make these diagrams. Okay, these were the shapes and sizes of the pottery. Finish. Now you are not supposed to describe it. Finish, right? Just you have made this pottery, and you have just written here only most common, right? And that was mostly used by them, or most common. ठीक है. Then cooking vessels, right? Storing vessels. Maybe some religious use. That's it. Don't write a single word, anything, just to describe it, right? That's it. And let me tell you one thing very frankly, these are the places where you can make the maps, draws, and you can draw such kind of pictures. Otherwise, there is no use of, putting it. Whenever you find that just by putting that particular map or picture, you are saving your words, go for it. Otherwise, it's not required, right? Okay, fine. So the next thing, we have discussed most of the thing. Now the next thing, that what kind of pictures they were drawing on the So normally these were the geometrical patterns, right? And we'll find that this is a very common pattern used in in India. Like one circle and the another circle is cutting like this, right? So this was one of the thing. Then people, the people leaves, the leaves of the people tree, right? That was another thing, another pattern which could be seen, among them, right? The like fist-like construction, the fist, the circles, yeah. Right? So that's all about their pottery, right? But these are the description you are writing only if you are writing an answer on pottery. Otherwise, no need of giving these inscriptions, right? So I hope you have met certain points, right? That points are sufficient, to discuss it. Right? Change the paragraph. Go to the next one. Okay. Harappans were expert. Harappans were expert in making terracotta figurines. In making terracotta figurines, बहुत गंदा साइज का बना है यार, लेकिन मतलब कोई देखेगा तो क्या बोलेगा. Terracotta figurines almost all, most of the Harappan centers, most of the Harappan centers are full of such examples. These terracotta figurines included various animals such as bulls, buffaloes, monkeys, dogs, elephants, male figurines, and more numerous female figurines of various types. Of various types. They're not using the horses. Well, that's a debatable topic, you know. There are two references of horses that we have found from Indus Valley civilization. One was from Surkotata and the another one was from Lothal. So from Surkotata we have received the teeth of horse, right? And from Lothal we have received one terracotta figurine of horse, right? But now it is tough to say confirmly if this was the horse, because in India mostly the khachas were being used, right? In India there was no use of horse, right? And maybe it normally we assume that the race of horse, the specific race of horse which was used for war and some other purposes, these were used in Central Asia, or these are the races from Central Asia. So first time introduced by the Aryans, and during the time of Kusanas, right, there was a prosperous trade of horse which started between India and Central Asia. Got the point? And initially the horses were not supposed to be very important. Till the period of moderns, the horses were not very important in battlefield. It was elephant. And then what happened? Then they realized the importance of horses, because initially the bulkiness was one of the biggest weapon used in wars, and that is where they found elephants more more fit in this particular mode. But later on they realized that the mobility is more important in the battlefield, and that is where they started preferring horses. And during the time of Kusanas, as I told you, that trade profoundly started in India, and then horse became important, not the elephant did not remain that much important. In fact, I asked one question also, I think that was regarding this military technology, right? So that needed all such kind of description, like importance of horse and some other technologies also that we'll discuss in various during the various period. Okay, fine. So what did you write?
Female figurines of different types.
Okay. Female figurine of different or various types. These terracotta figurines were so important that sometimes exported to the contemporary civilizations. Next, change the paragraph. Stonework was another important craft full stop. Reference was made earlier to the stone masonry, MASONRY, stone masonry, and fine polished pillars, fine MASONRY, masonry, and fine polished pillars at Dhaulavira. More visible at all Harappan sites, were the mass produced chut blades, mass produced chut, CHERT, chut blades, blades. It's a sort of blade which was made of a specific kind of stone, right? Maybe of domestic use, maybe for the domestic use, or for some professional use. Probably they were getting the stones from the Rohri hills of Sindh. Rohri hills, ROHRI, Rohri hills of Sindh. Next, change the paragraph. The Harappans were well versed in making copper objects. Apart from making artifacts out of pure copper, Harappan craftspersons alloyed, ALLOYED, alloyed copper with arsenic आर्सेनिक, पता है ना आर्सेनिक? हाँ हाँ, इससे क्या करना है, मेटल की तरह तो इस्तेमाल होता ही है। टिन, टिन, टिन और निकल, NiCkel, निकल, full stop. Copper and bronze artifacts included, copper and bronze artifacts included vessels, spears, knives, swords, तलवार, SWORDS, swords, arrowheads, fish hooks, mirrors, rings and bangles. The use of bronze increased over the time from the early Harappans to the mature Harappans. Got the point? In the early Harappas, the copper stuffs are basically, bronze stuffs were less, 6%, and in mature it was 23%. So it shows there, that now these people are accessing to the, maybe tin or some other stuff, right? Because of that, they have started using more, bronze, right? Change the paragraph. Achha, sorry, you just continue that paragraph. You just few more things that we need to write. If it is about copper, bronze, and using these kind of stuff, it means that they had advanced metallurgy, right? And in fact, as you do understand, they were not cutting or doing these kind of things. In fact, they were well versed in making the or preparing the alloy or mixing the tin with copper. It means that they had advanced metallurgy. It means that they have prepared such kind of sorry. Exactly, right. So for melting it and doing some other thing. So yes, we do have references for these kind of things also. So you just add one or two more lines, right? "16 copper furnaces. 16 copper furnaces were found at Harappa. And copper workshop at Lothal." Even Mohenjo-daro was also supposed to be a popular center for these works. Change the paragraph. The Harappans were equipped enough were equipped enough for making gold and silver jewelry such as necklace, bracelets, pendants and earrings.
They were importing the gold from southern India.
Maybe I'll come to that yeah, aspect while discussing the trade, right? I'll come to that one. Sorry, maybe they're using it. Sorry, male wearing necklace. So even the people are wearing necklace even the present time. No, they are making necklace. Males are using everything here. नहीं, कान में कुंडल पहनते हैं. They are using the earrings. Yeah. Only this part is left, but some of the people have started using even wearing something even in the nose. अभी तो piercing तो खैर कहीं भी शुरू हो गई. I'm not supposed to discuss all this. Who started this tradition of for the males using these earrings? Indians never used to wear this, I mean to say earrings before. Alauddin Khilji. It's a wrong detail, the wrong, sort of depiction. Jahangir started this tradition, right? So, nobody can use it before Jahangir, right? Alauddin Khilji was not wearing actually. Movie है? कान? मूवी की बात मत करिए, वो भी बॉलीवुड मूवी की तो बिल्कुल नहीं. Right? Finish it. No one was using these earrings. Males were not using it. Alladino, A-double-L, A-double-L-A-H-D-I-N-O, Alladino was supposed to be a good center, was supposed to be a manufacturing center for gold, silver and semi-precious stones. Semi-precious stones. From Lothal, अच्छा, one more line you just add, just cut this from Lothal. From the terracotta figurines, it seems that male and female both were fond of jewelries. Same. Jewelries. Then you just write. So continue in the same paragraph. From Lothal, we have received two artifacts which give the evidence of early use of iron. So it seems that the Harappans were aware of iron. It seems that the Harappans were aware of the iron. Next, paragraph change. The Harappans or the civilization, Harappan civilization was unique with regard to its town planning. With regard to its town planning. Town planning. The planned cities use of burnt bricks, having standard ratio throughout the civilization, throughout the extent, the advanced drainage system so that their masonry was also in an advanced stage that must be included as a developed form of craft. Next, we just missed mentioning one more thing: uniformity in the city planning. You just add a word somewhere, uniformity in city planning, where you have written about those features of here, like the use of burnt bricks and town planning. You just add one more thing: uniformity in town planning. Next, you write down seal making. So don't write anything, you simply start writing. Seal making was another important Harappan craft. Most of the seals were square or rectangular. Although the cylindrical and circular seals have also been found in the civilization. Most of the seals are made of statite most of the seals were made of statite. The seals are also special because of its carving. The seals are also specific because of its carving, which carried images of many animals, human figures, and plants. Full stop. In most of the seals, certain scripts also could be seen. Next, change the paragraph. Bead making was a craft known in earlier cultures, but in Harappan civilizations, new materials, styles and techniques came into use. A new type of cylindrical stone drill was devised. Cylindrical stone drill was devised and used to perforate beads of semi-precious stones. Perforate beads of semi-precious stone. Such drills have been found at sites such as Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Chanhuduru, and Dholavira. The Harappan craft persons used statite, carnelian, 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 lapis lazuli, gold, silver, and copper for making beads. The possibilities are there that the beads were exported to contemporary civilizations. Change the paragraph. It can be inferred from the available evidences that Harappans made cotton and woolen textiles. Cotton and woolen textiles. The terracotta figurines gives us idea of the clothes used by the Harappans. Some direct evidences of cotton clothes have also been found from Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. This craft must be practiced by the rural people. And also to some extent by the urbans. Change the paragraph. The Harappan crafts display an impressive level of standardization suggest that state control must be the responsible factor for it. But at the same time, it has also been suggested that the religious belief a gradual cultural growth long tradition or the or the supra, S-U-P-R-A, supra-local tendency before supra-local you add one more word, trade and commerce or trade and supra-local tendency might be responsible for this, also might be responsible for this. Right, that's it, right? So this is what you are supposed to discuss for the craft. Okay, somewhere I have just given you extra detail because there might be some short question you can face for the metallurgy, right, or pottery, so the possibilities, and maybe for jewelry also, right? But that must be part of again the metallurgy, because if it is about jewelry, so of course it is about gold, silver and some other stuff, right? So that is why if any question is coming on metallurgy, we need to discuss about definitely copper and bronze technology, then iron, right, and of course gold, silver, and these are the things, stuff that we have found, like the the places where they used to make these kind of things, right? So somehow all these things are important to discuss, and that is why. But if you are writing an answer on the craft practices, so these examples must be minimized, right? Rather you need to focus on two things, the standardizations and the specialization, right? So we need to focus in that. So instead of just by using those examples for the sake of these points or these facts for the sake of example, nothing else, right? So that's all for this year, craft practices. Now the second thing, or the next thing that we need to discuss, that is the trade and commerce, right? So again the trade and commerce is not much different from this, right? Again there are certain sort of examples of this, but basically we need to understand the pattern. So here I won't be giving you much sort of factual details. I'll just try to analyze that what kind of trade they were having, right, or what were the specific features of their trade, right? So in that way we'll develop, right, and we'll just supplement some of this thing from the notes only, right?